Everyone, Sarana, everyone. So today also we are going to have the Dhamma discussion, and I think we had some questions 3 weeks before. Since I had this meditation program at Vaharak Temple, we could not have Dhamma discussions for 2 weeks, and now yesterday also, since I was outside, we could not have Dhamma discussion. So I think we'll go through the questions and finish the questions, and then if we have time, we'll do some meditation, and go. Okay, we can continue doing the meditation if there's no questions on the upcoming weeks. So I'll go through the questions and we'll discuss the answers first. Okay, before doing that, let us focus on the meritorious deeds that we have done to create a pasada chitta, to eliminate all the pancha nivarana that might hinder our understanding, that might hinder our comprehension. So focus on all the meritorious deeds that you have done throughout this life. There are various meritorious deeds, from dana to Dhamma discussions to listenings, meditations, and respecting that the ones who should be respected, and various other types of kaya kamma, vachi kamma, and mano kamma that are done with alobha, adosa, and amoha, especially lokottara alobha, adosa, amoha. So we have done those types of meritorious deeds in the past, in our previous lives, and in this life as well. So all the meritorious power that we have gathered throughout the samsara by doing kaya kamma, vachi kamma, and mano kamma may agglomerate together, creating a perfect background for everyone to listen to Dhamma, external background as well as the internal background, and may everyone be able to focus and understand this Dhamma, opening up the eyes of wisdom and completing the rest of the pathway, attaining the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Accept this blessing with the sadhukara.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
And these are the courses that we need for a better outcome, for a better understanding. And there are causes that would hinder our understanding, that would block our understanding, and those are the unwholesome things that we have done throughout the samsara, especially towards Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. Of course, with lack of knowledge, with lack of understanding, with lack of wisdom, we might have done kaya kamma, vachi kamma, mano kamma again in negative ways, collecting negative powers, negative karmic powers that might hinder our understanding. And let us understand these faults as faults, depending on the current wisdom, and let us promise ourselves in front of Supreme Buddhas that we are refraining from doing any of those actions again in this samsaric journey. And that is the forgiveness in Buddha Sasana, understanding our faults and moving forward, correcting themselves. So let's do that in front of Supreme Buddhas, thinking that they are alive in front of us. And in front of them, we are not promising to the Supreme Buddhas, but promising ourselves that we are refraining from doing any of the wrongdoings again. With that intention, accept it with a sadhukara.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
So then we'll discuss these questions. I don't know whether the Mr. I think it's Mr. Amin who has sent these questions to the WhatsApp group. He might not be here today. But anyway, we'll discuss the questions because it might help the others as well. So the question, there's a list of questions, and I'll read the questions so everyone is familiar with what we are discussing about. So is it possible for anyone below Arihat to experience the uncontaminated chitta or Pancakkhandha? For example, let's consider an ordinary person experiencing a seeing event. When the light bounces off from the object and then hits the physical eye, and that will trigger a chain of reactions, which results in cells producing some kind of electric pulse, and then it is carried through the optic nerve back to the brain, and everything happens. Then it is proceeded into a language that the mind can understand, and then it is passed down to the seat of mind via Chakkuprasada. To make it simpler, let's assume that one packet of data was sent and then result in chitta rising in mindset. A fraction of rupa, vedana, sanya, sankara, and vijnana, a fraction of sight has happened. But for everyone below Arihat, because of the ignorance of reality, anicca, there will be a sense of an I added to the process, creating the duality of I am and the sight, fabricating this illusion of an I experiencing the sight. Is that correct? Excuse me. If the above is correct, then does that imply that all our experiences are always contaminated to some extent with ignorance? Meaning, we are always experiencing Pancupadanakkhandha and never Pancakkhandha. In the above example, what is the understanding of a Sotapanna about this sense of I? So, I think everybody is clear about the question. Now, we'll have to understand what anicca, dukkha, anatta means. And if you think about what anicca, dukkha, anatta means, let's simply try to summarize, because we have already discussed about it a lot. We are trying to just flash back through our wisdom. So anicca. Anicca is, we cannot control it. Simply, the meaning is, can't control according to the expectations. Then what is it? What controls it? It is controlled by causes, and causes give rise to effects. And this is simply called Paticca Samuppada. So that is why it says anicca sankhara, sankhara, action. So that the actions that create sankharas are of anicca nature. Everything is of sankhara nature. Eyes, images, sounds, smells, ears, sounds, nose, smells, tongue, taste, body, touch, mind, and thoughts. All these things are sankhata. That means were created by doing sankhara, or created through sankhara is a better word, because by saying created by doing sankhara, we are applying that some we are we are focusing on a kind of atma or soul nature, that there is a soul and everything. But let's say, because we are seeing the process, when we are focusing on a process, we goes to passive voice. We focus about, we don't focus about who created it because it is a process. So instead of the creator, we are seeing the creator as a process. Creation itself is the creator. The process of creation is itself is the creator. So a process of sankhara leads to a set of sankhata. And we discussed all these sankhata, 12 components, 6 external and 6 internal components, and that creates all the sankhata through a sankhara process. Sankhara process is a reason why a set of sankhara was born and is being born right now. So this sankhara process, the process of sankhara is of anicca nature, cannot be controlled according to expectations. Now expectations is another set of things that is formed in this whole mechanism, but the expectation, which is also a result of this mechanism of Paticca Samuppada, is just a false hope. And we feel like it is working, but it finally results in soka parideva dukkha domana supayasa. So why do soka parideva dukkha domana supayasa come? Because the expectation ends up in disappointment. Why? Because things cannot be controlled according to expectation. Why? Because things are controlled by causes. And what are these causes? That is what is explained in Paticca Samuppada. These are the causes that results in this jati. And these are the causes, when these causes are gone, the discussed jati would not emanate. And that is Udaya and Vaya. Again, another name for anicca. So anicca itself discusses about why expectation doesn't work and what exactly works to create effects. Excuse me. So that is anicca. So not knowing this anicca, again, that is, in another words, that is thinking that these can be controlled according to the expectation, is another name for avijja. Then there's dukkha. Dukkha is, again, it is like a triangle with 3 corners. They are interconnected. Because of anicca, dukkha happens. And there's, again, an inherited dukkha nature in every object, every sankhata. That is why it says, sabbe sankhara dukkhati. So all the sankhara needs effort. Without effort, something cannot be built. Whether it is about a machine building something, whether it is about a motor being rotated, or let's say it is a engine working, or a helicopter that is trying to get into the air or trying to airborne, everything, every sankhara, whether it is done by a living thing or a non-living thing, it needs effort, power. And power, effort is actually a resistance. So you have to break we have to go beyond the resistance to create power. So to rotate these blades of a helicopter, you have to go against the resistance. So going against the resistance is kind of has a suffering nature, has a resisting kind of nature. So we have the same thing. We in a living person, in a living being, or in unliving thing, that resistance should be eliminated or should be pushed for the work to be done. So that has this inherent dukkha nature in sankhara. And again, because they are done with causes or created with causes and not expectation, whatever we create with expectation. We create with hope. Whatever creation done with avijja is done with hope. So we don't see the dukkha lakshana. Instead, we see avijja, the nature of avijja, which is sukha. Instead of dukkha, we see sukha. But whatever the sukha we try to create, we cannot maintain, because when the causes goes, the effect also goes or dies. When the causes die, effect die. No cannot control. Causes are eliminated, effects are eliminated, or the result is eliminated. So in that sense, we are not able to hold on to that sukha, leading to disappointment. That is again anicca, and that disappointment itself is dukkha. So these are interconnected, jumbled in a way very easy, but very easy to differentiate, but at the same time very, very entangled. So twisted on one another in a very very complex manner. So that is dukkha nature. Again, ends up in jara, marana, and that is not controllable. That is anicca part of it. And the jara, marana leading to separation from a sukha object leads to dukkha. That is dukkha characteristic of dukkha. And again leads to vexation. Vexation itself is anicca, and the dukkha part, there's a dukkha part in the vexation as well. So vexation happens because we cannot control it according to the expectation. That is, it is anicca part. And dukkha part is the suffering itself due to vexation. So that is anicca dukkha entangled together. And this becomes more complex when we cannot say it becomes more complex, but it is kind of all of it comes together in a sense, in a way, when anatta also comes. What is anatta? Again, if something ends up in jara marana, finally, we have not achieved anything in the end. Let's say we created something and this everlasts. What everlasts? Sansara everlasts. That means sansara never ends. Sansara lasts forever. So whatever the thing we create, if it does not last forever, then there's no point. That is very, very simple. Because if it is endless, and we are trying to have an endless journey, and we cannot create anything endless, we are doing something very essenceless, hopeless, very useless in a way. Because we'll have to do it again and again and again, and even if we do it infinite times, we'll have to do it again. Because the samsara is infinite, and what we create does not last towards eternity. That itself is dukkha. Thinking about it is dukkha, because there is lot of effort, no result. And again, it is anicca. We could never we could not experience or hold on to what we want or fulfill our expectation, because it ends up in Jarama. So whatever the thing we do is of essenceless nature. It's like trying to catch the air with our bare hands. It always slips in through the fingers. So that is the reality. And not knowing this, thinking that I can have a eternal object, a sankata, sankara, by doing sankara, that is again avijja. So avijja is a combination of nicca, sukha, atta, and subha. So subha is also a kind of thinking that it is of worthy nature. Subha means kind of very positivity. Again, that is a. I'm trying to put this emotion that occurs when somebody says subha into words, English words, and it is hard because there are no words to express these things. So we have to use a salad of words, combination of words, and one is worthy, subha, positive, subha. Again, yeah, those are the two things that comes to my mind. So again, you can very easily understand these four. You can even drop the fourth one. Anicca dukkha anatta itself gives the whole picture. Now, the opposite of anicca dukkha anatta, that means nicca sukha atta, kind of a combination of a mix of all these three, nicca, sukha, and atta, gives the sensation of avijja. And when that is lost in somebody, that person is called arihat. Of course, using Asmi Mana to understand it, it is also can be done. There are various ways, 84,000 ways of understanding Dhamma, 84,000 Dhammakhandha. So we can use one of them, but we have to understand it is not always the same thing that we have to go through. That means in our understanding, there are various ways of seeing this. Everyone doesn't have to focus on Asmi Mana over and over again to understand Dhamma. Because think about it. This was just one sermon or few sermons done on Asmi Mana everything. Not suitable to take it as me or mine or my soul. That is also one methodology. Think about these Four Noble Truths. Of course, it is said indirectly, but in the Four Noble Truths, it is directed towards dukkha and elimination of dukkha, understanding dukkha and elimination of dukkha, and the pathway to it. So in that, the people or individuals who listen to that Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta and Satchavibhanga Sutta and got Arihat at the place, at the same instance, especially Devas and Brahmas, because there were not many in the human realm who could attain Arihathood by listening to those, but they certainly became Sotapanna, just like in the case of Kondanya Thero, and maybe in the Satchavibhanga Sutta explanation, which is the detailed explanation of detailed explanation of Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, maybe many attained Arihat, but I'm lacking that information here. So anyway, if they could attain Arihathood, not listening, not trying, understanding not directly understanding. Of course, they understood, but not directly. They were not directly focusing on anything that focuses on Asmi Mana. So of course it is the final and finest and last thing to break in Sanyojana. That is why when we try to focus on it, we feel like, oh, that if that is gone, then everything will be gone. And we try to focus on the final last bit without focusing on much more needed, more hard and more tangible components of defilements and components of avijja. And instead of focusing on more denser, more tangible, more understandable components of avijja, we tend to focus on the most finest one. It's like an elephant trying to hold or hold on to a needle. Needle is a very small thing. Certainly a human can take a needle from the ground if it is fallen on the ground, but not an elephant, because elephant is big. It doesn't have the necessary tools to pick a needle from the ground. Just like that, we are having this elephant mindset. In the beginning, we don't have the capacity to understand the very finer ones. That doesn't mean we'd never be able to. That means maybe someone might be able to do it in few hours if he is a very, very high prajna person. But again, we have to understand our capacities, individual capacities, and understand, okay, that is the end of this journey, and I'll have to go one step at a time. If I am climbing this staircase towards anicca, the staircase of eightfold pathway. So by understanding what avijja means and trying to understand the opposite of avijja, which is wisdom, and focusing on wisdom more and more would eliminate the defilements. Our mind would become more developed in the Arya pathway, and we'll be able to deal with finer components, finer defilements, just like Asmi Mana at the end. And if somebody has that Indriya Nanatha, of course, they are welcome to focus on that pathway. That doesn't mean there's no pathway like that. There's a pathway. And that is why we recite these kammatanas, not suitable to take it as me, mine, or my soul. And one needs to really understand the boundaries of it. Otherwise, they would be eliminating something else when they are focusing on that. Because that area, that understanding should be crystal clear about what you need to eliminate, and what you are focusing on when you are dealing with that kind of a methodology. Because not everything regarding me, mine, my soul are eliminated when we are focusing on Arya pathway. We have to anyway talk about ourselves. My name is this. I'm coming from this area, and this is my bowl. This is what I ate yesterday, and this is where I'm going. That doesn't get eliminated even in Arihat. But something, of course, get eliminated. Then there is Asmi Mana. We'll be able to understand it in a different manner, even though we don't understand it here. If somebody understands Anicca Dukkha Anatta correctly, and if that person focuses on their current pathway, one step at a time, gradually they would be able to understand it indirectly in a different way. But after they attained Arihathood, they would crystal clearly understand, okay, that is what I understood that day. Because we are using the same we are using different routes to go to the same place. Someone is coming, let's say, from the capital city of your country, and someone is coming from a rural area, someone is coming from the south, someone is coming from the east, but to the center or the heart of the country. Everybody is going towards the same place, but they are taking different routes. If somebody else was described, was exposed to some other route, that person would be clueless, because he or she does not see any signs, any road signs that are being explained. So it will be very hard. So back to the main topic. So if it is an Arihat, it is not that duality that we are talking about. Okay, there's this thing and then there's me, and there are two different people in items, something as me and something as the other object. Instead of focusing that, because it might be correct, but we are using, it might be, by saying it might be correct, in your head, you might have the correct understanding, but we are using this very poor medium of language, irrespective of what language it is, even it is Pali, Sinhala, Korean, English, or whatever the language it is. Languages are very poor in transmitting this message of Dhamma. So when somebody says something like this, the other person, even if the other person understands what the really the pathway is by using Asmi Mana, he'll have that pair of glasses and look at this text and understand, okay, he's understanding what needs to be understood. But because that person is looking through his glasses at the text, and the other person said something else, meant something else by those same words, so it is very hard to express we can do it, but the other person understand it in a different way, because we are trying to do something like an elephant trying to catch or hold on to a needle kind of thing. So we can tell, but everybody has to come from Anicca Dukkha Anatta to that point. So focusing on Anicca Dukkha Anatta, the main components, and trying to work on that and develop through that, gradually you would be able to understand it on your own. Because when somebody understands Anicca Dukkha Anatta, that person is does not need any other's help to understand Dhamma. That means that person becomes Sotapanna, in other words. And when somebody is Sotapanna, that person does not need help from others to complete the Arya pathway. So if that is the case, then we can we can focus on understanding that part, and then move forward from there, one step at a time, and you would be able to understand this on your own. What Asmi Mana means. But we can discuss it, of course. But always try to understand. Don't try to, when you're practicing the pathway, don't try to go there and practice that. Okay, I am seeing an object. Am I seeing it as here's me and the other person is or other object is there, and I'm having this duality? That is not the way. Where's the anicca in that? Where's the dukkha and anatta in that? Focus on that. Because we create this self, me, to experience the external world. Why do we want to experience the external world? Because we find value. In other words, we think it is Nitya Sukata Subha. So when the value goes to zero, there's no need for us to exist anymore. So in other words, Asmi Mana is already gone. when that happens. So indirectly, you have eliminated Asmi Mana without even focusing on this methodology. So don't get disheartened even if you understand this method, because it is only one. And everybody wants to tell that it is the only pathway. I don't know why that is. Just focus on the main components, the basics, and basics would get you through towards the end. And of course, when you are practicing focusing on the basics and reduce the defilements, eliminate the nivaranas, and develop the sila samadhi prajna. Sila samadhi prajna, and the prajna would develop the sila component, again a cycle of sila samadhi panya, and this would develop the samadhi. When the samadhi becomes stronger, you would have more wisdom, and that wisdom, with that wisdom, you would be able to understand what is meant by these things. Even if you don't, you would be able to feel it with the emotion, with the feeling. Even if you are not able to put it into words, you'd able to understand it. That is the magic of this. Everybody is not able to put these into words. If that is possible, then that is a gift. If that is not, that doesn't mean you don't understand. You understand it in your heart, in your mind, with what you have achieved through a Kalyana Mitra, then you have it. If it is working with Raga Dosa Moha, and Raga Dosa Moha is reducing, and if your quality of life is increasing, the suffering is reducing, you are on the pathway and you are doing the thing that needs to be done. The defilements are reducing and you are using the basics. That is what we keep on doing until the end. It is the washing of the cloth, a dirty cloth, which is our mind, full of defilements or stains. The cloth full of stains is being washed. We wash it, we put the chemical, we apply pressure, do various kinds of movements, and wash it. Looks at the dress again or the cloth again, there are more defilements. So now the defilements are less, but still there are defilements. So the stains are less, but there are still stains. So we focus on these harder stains now. And we do the act of washing and rinsing. We wash with the chemical and we rinse and again inspect. We do this kind of a thing over and over again, and finally we get a white, clean, nice cloth. And that's the end. We did not have to change that until the end. It is the same thing that we have to do, but when we do it, our indriya starts to develop. Saddha, Virya, Sati, Samadhi, Panya develops, and our mind becomes more capable of handling finer components. So, Asmi Mana, feeling what me and myself and my soul is directly connected to Anicca Dukkha Anatta. It is not two different things. That is what we need to understand. That is why focusing on Anicca, by focusing on Anicca, you would be able to understand that eventually. These are no two different things. Asmi Mana and Anicca Dukkha Anatta are no two different things. Otherwise, we will not be able to complete these RA pathways without any other's help after we understood Anicca Dukkha Anatta. That is possible because Anicca Dukkha Anatta, the package of Anicca Dukkha Anatta understanding itself has this component. It covers the component of Asmi Mana. So what is Anicca? Again, it is not that we feel that there's me or my soul, me. There's a component called me. It is the idea that it could be controlled. And this controllable nature itself is the problem, thinking that there's a controllable nature. according to the expectation. Itself is a problem. When anicca is fully understood, one understands this is a mechanism, eliminates the idea of being able to control it according to expectation. Paticca Samuppada mechanism works, and due to Paticca Samuppada, angry mind came. Angry mind or a very vicious, kind of very malicious mindset was emanated. And this is the cause, these are the causes, and this is the result. And I think I got angry. But there's a part, there's a component there. Yes, I got angry. But you have to, should be able to differentiate the term I, just like the table. You know, table, let's say table fall down and got broken. There was a table or there was a chair on some two-storied building, and somebody or due to some reason that chair got it fell down, and it was broken into pieces. And now we say the chair is broken. Just like that, I got angry. Just like the word table was used there, the use of word I is not a problem, because it is just a name that is used to identify something. It is not eliminated in Asmi Mana. Otherwise, we would be scared to describe ourselves using words. My name is this. Did I talk with Avijja right now? Would be our thought. And that is wrong. And we would not be able to, that is why I said it's very hard to hold on to a needle when we are still an elephant. If we are a human or a finer being, more finer one, who can hold on to a needle, then that's very easy. That's very easy for that person, a very developed mindset. And that person would be very easily able to identify what should be eliminated and what should not be eliminated. Because everything is twisted on one another, and this is a very big mess in the final stages. But easy when the mindset is developed. But that is the important part. So table was fallen and it got broken. Table got broken. I got angry. So in that sense, I got angry is not a problem. But the thing is, there's another layer to it. I wanted to get angry, and I was the one who got angry, and I had the ability to not get angry as well, but I preferred to get angry, so I got angry. Is also there in that sentence, with the feeling that it is said. And that is not understanding anicca. I don't know whether you might have to listen to this several times to understand it. That is why I said it is kind of, when you go along the pathway, may be able to understand this. So there are two things that are entangled together. The use of just words or words to express or identify objects. There's a Pancakkhandha and we called it me. There's a table or a four-legged wooden item and we call that the table. And that is not a problem. Both are not an issue. But for the table, when we say it, we do not have that anicca table. Let's say due to wind, it was fallen and it got broken. So we say the table or the chair was broken. There's no anicca or nicca component there when we talk about it. No Asmi Mana component attached with the table. Because we are not mentioning anybody who did it. But we are mentioning a person who did it. I got angry. And that is not a problem, as long as that was just used for mentioning purposes. As long as the anicca is that word came out of the mind with the anicca mindset, then Asmi Mana, or that anicca or Asmi Mana would be lesser, or Mana is kind of a spectrum. It has a range up until to somebody becomes a dog or a monkey, to the level of where Arihat or Anagami eliminates the final little pieces of Asmi Mana to become Arihat. So it'll have, so understanding this and telling somebody I got angry, now we are mindful. At the time we got angry, of course, there was Avijja, there was the Nicca Sukha Subha mindset, but after reflecting on it, oh sorry, I got angry. And we are contemplating now on anicca and saying, I got angry, but what we are saying inside what we are having, or what we understand by that word, by that sentence is, all the causes for anger got aligned at that time, and that resulted in anger. And where did that anger occur? In a place called, or in an object called I. I got angry, and that is fine. When we see somebody, when we see an object, as in this example, there's this apple, and we saw the apple, just like as he mentioned, all the light rays came to the eye, and everything happened, and it went to the mind, and a fraction of rupa, vedana, sanya, sankara, and vijnana was felt. But we never be able to process, or we never be able to work with a fraction of Pancakkhandha. It is just for understanding purposes and to develop wisdom. We would never be able to practically experience a fraction of Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, and Vijnana. Even an Arihat. It is only possible for a Supreme Buddha to understand the fractions of Anicca, Dukkha, Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana. But we are able to understand it with wisdom. How a big Rupa came to be by accumulation of fractions. So Rupa Vedana, fractions of Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara would gather in our memory and would get processed, and then we would be able to understand the full object. That is where we are able to practically apply it, and practically that is what we see. We see the object, full one. We apply the fraction nature or the process, we think about, we contemplate on the process to eliminate avijja, not to practically experience it, because we would not be able to. When we are experiencing fractions of rupa vedana, or a combination of rupa vedana sanya, fractions of rupa vedana sanya sankara vijnana was experienced, then if that person does not have nicca sukha subha mindset and has the anicca dukkha anatta asubha mindset, then that person is not developing avijja at the time, because one chitta cannot have both avijja and vijja. One place cannot have both light and darkness. Either it is darkness or either it is light. So a chitta was created, and that has, instead of avijja that has vijja or kusala mula. Kusala mula in Paticca explanation, it could be the kusala mula Paticca. So we are seeing everything as anicca, dukkha, anatta, and that kind of a mindset was emanated. And that chitta is not having any avijja in it. That doesn't mean we have eliminated the possibility to develop avijja. What is ragakkhaya? Ragakkhaya means from now onwards, from this point onwards, no raga. There will be no raga in that system, in that person. There's no possibility to develop raga in that position. That is ragakkhaya. That is dosakkhaya, if it is for dosa. That is mohakkhaya, if it is for moha. And that combination of ragakkhaya, dosakkhaya, mohakkhaya is called nibbana. So nibbana is not just for a moment. If somebody completes the Arya pathway and attains nibbana, that means you are not developing raga, dosa, moha from this point onwards. So that is talking about the full picture and not about a moment, because there could be moments that there's no raga, dosa, moha, but that doesn't mean we don't have the ability to develop raga, dosa, moha. If that ability is gone, then we say sangyojanas are eliminated. So when the ability to develop sakkaya ditthi, vicikiccha, silabbata paramasa is fully eliminated, that means from this point onwards, irrespective of how many lives that we live until the end, until the end, until somebody becomes arihat, that person would never develop sakkaya ditthi again, vicikiccha again, silabbata paramasa again. That is what it means by saying sakkaya ditthi, vicikiccha, silabbata paramasa is gone. It means it is not gone in this moment, but it is gone for life. It is gone for the whole sansaric journey. When somebody says kamaraga paticca is gone, that means it is gone from this point onwards towards the nibbana, until the nibbana. That means no arising of kamaraga and paticca from now onwards. If ruparaga, aruparaga, manuddhacha, avijja is eliminated, that means from now onwards, or from this point onwards, no raga, dosa, no kamaraga, ruparaga, aruparaga, manuddhacha, avijja would be emanated until the nibbana. That means until passing away. So that is what it means. So we are not talking about a moment. We are talking about the whole picture, or until the end. When we are talking about sanyojana, and when we are talking about Asmi Mana, because Asmi Mana is a sanyojana, one of the 10 sangyojanas, and the final one of the final ones, manuddhacha, vidya, the last 3. So if somebody focuses on anicca, dukkha, anatta, then we have already obtained the recipe to eliminate all sangyojanas, all the 10. And we don't develop avijja in each and every mindset. We don't develop all the sanyojanas in each and every mindset. But there's the possibility for that to happen. It is something like this. There's the gravity. That doesn't mean everything is free falling all the time. If we are holding on to an object, let's say a glass made of course, a wine glass. It is breakable. It can break. If it is dropped on the floor, it shatters into pieces. A wine glass is held on our hand, and we are holding on to it. We are not dropping it. At that point, also, the gravity is pulling it downwards, but we are not seeing the action of gravity since we are holding on to it. But as soon as we drop it, gravity would act on. Of course, earlier also it acted, but we could not see it. It is like the Sanyojana is not working, and when the Sanyojana is working, we can see it. We can see Paticca being created. Okay, I got angry. I got a very conflicting mindset. And when Kama Raga comes, we understand, okay, Kama Raga, or the attaching nature, the attachment for the sensual pleasures was emanated in my mindset. We can experience, we can identify, we can experience it. But when it is dropped, or in the example, it is like it is there, but it is not yet emanated. That means Kama Raga Sanyojana is there, but it is not, we cannot see it because it is not created. It is not in the created form. It is like holding on to the wine glass. But as soon as we drop it, it starts going towards the ground very fast, and it falls on the ground and shatters. And now in that process, we can see it. We can see the gravity's action. Just like that, we can see the Kama Raga when the person is attaching. We can see the Paticca when the person is developing that angry, kind of rageful mindset. So that is the difference between these two. So it is when we are talking about Nibbana, we are not talking about just a pinpointed moment. Okay, that is why Nibbana, we can touch the Nibbana. It is like there is a very, very, very big tower few kilometers away, 100 kilometers away, but we can still see the small tower because we are far away. We can still see it in a distance, but we have not reached there. We still have a very big journey to complete. So our Kalyana Mitta comes, and we never saw this tower before in our lives, points towards this tower and tells us, okay, that is the tower of Nibbana, and that is where you want to go. And for the first time in our whole samsaric journey, we see the tower, and now we are certain that we can go there because we can see it. When we step towards the tower, we can very well feel that the tower is coming towards us. That means the gap is reducing. And when we move away from the tower, we can very well feel, okay, now I am going away from Nibbana, the tower of Nibbana. So we should go towards the tower of Nibbana is the rational thinking or the wise thought that comes to the mind of that Sotapanna person, or a person who has the understanding of Dhamma, and then he'll start walking towards that tower one step at a time. And gradually, the tower would get bigger and bigger and bigger. Why? Now his wisdom is improving. He understands more about Anicca, about Nibbana, what Nibbana would feel like if this much of reduction in defilements feels this much blissful. Reduction of all the defilements would feel so blissful, would be experienced and would be assumed very correctly when the person gets more closer to this tower. So the person is walking towards the tower one step at a time, and if the person goes in a wrong direction, he can very well correct himself because he can see the tower. Oh, I'm going in a different direction now. I have to correct my direction, otherwise I will go somewhere else. He corrects it by himself and walks back on his journey. So until on the day he touches the tower and gets into the tower, that is the end. That is elimination of all the 10 sanyojanas. Up until that moment, he is seeing Nibbana. That doesn't mean he would not fall into Raga Dosa Moha again. He saw it in the moment. He saw it in a distance. He's able to see it more clearly with the development in the Arya pathway. So this is just like that. That doesn't mean By focusing on Nibbana right now, we are able to experience what Arihat experienced. Looking at a tower from a distance and going into the tower or touching the tower by or touching the tower in person, real time at that moment is different from seeing it in a distance. But still we are seeing it. And we are getting a taste of it. And that is not a lie. So I hope what you understand what Asmi Mana is. I think you can also refer to what we discussed about in this sermon we did few weeks or few months back about me, my soul, and me, myself, and my soul. Me, mine, and my soul. So it covers most of the things. I'll give a very practical example here. Let's say, I think we discussed this before, but I'll say it again because it covers Asmi Mana a lot, and it gives this emotion. It gives the feeling of Asmi Mana. So imagine somebody is sitting in front of you and you both close your eyes. Let's say the person in front of you is A. Oh, let's put a name. Let's say John. John is sitting in front of you and both of you close your eyes. And when you open your eyes, you are John. And John is you. That means you have changed. You have exchanged your experiencing, or we can say chitta. Now chitta is in the other person. Chitta is created in the other person. So as soon as we open our eyes, let's say I'll take my example. So John is in front of me. I am closing my eyes, and I am opening my eyes, and I am seeing myself in front of me because I am in John's body. What is the immediate thought that comes to my mind? Why am I looking at me? And if the memory is erased, okay, we'll go a step further. When I'm lifting, we reverse, the memory is still not erased, and I'm opening my eyes, I am seeing myself in front of me, and I am trying to lift my hand. Instead of my hand, John's hand is lifting. I'm trying to talk. Why am I seeing myself? But my voice is not coming out. John's voice is coming out. I'm trying to listen. I can't listen from my ears, but I'm listening from John's ears. I'm trying to perceive the world, try to get all the sensations. I'm getting the sensation of touch from John's body, and everything is, or the primary sensory organs which I am using right now is not mine. So this is what my first conclusion is. So I get confused and looks at the other person, which is me, of course, and would shout out, okay, well, what the hell happened? Or something like that would be shouted out, right? So now we go through the same scenario, but we erase memories. We close eyes, we shift the person's lives or souls, so-called souls, from one person to the other, and then open our eyes. We have no clue about our past experiences. It was just like we started from zero, just resetted our lives in our memories. So I open my eyes. I see some kind of a monk. Oh, maybe I don't even know what a monk is. Maybe I have the basic understanding. I don't have any understanding about my experiences, about me. So I open my eyes, a monk is in front of me, And I try to listen. Okay, I can listen. I can lift my arms. I can talk. I can do all sorts of things. I would ask, okay, where am I? Where are my parents? Who are my parents? And everything. Now the mess is, or the panicking is less, because I know I am still living. So in that two scenarios, if we think about it deeply, initially and right now also, I am able to control my body according to my expectations. I am talking to you for several minutes now, and if I have avijja, of course we have, and we think that we could control it according to our expectations, without getting into the feeling of anicca. And we decide this body is also controllable according to expectation, and it becomes the immediate part of me as well. So when we think about the me, when we think about me, we are thinking about mind and body, because it works as a integrated kind of system, separated, or we feel like it is integrated, one whole system which is separated from the external world. So we can see the demarcation of it very clearly, of course, due to avijja. And we have this mindset, and then we decided, as soon as our memory, when our memory was still intact and the shifting happens, we got panicked, because we have already decided that this body is a part of me, and now it is not a part of me because I am not able to control it. So why am I doing outside my body? That baffling thought would come to my mind, if that is the reason, if that happened ever. But when the memory is erased, even without knowing, we have appointed that this is me. Who is me? John is me. So that is due to Asmi Mana. Then what is Asmi Mana? What is the difference in what is the difference that happened before and after? Before, I did not have any control over John's body, and that is before. And what happened after? After, let's drop the I. Before, the controllable, or the controlling the body according to expectation was not there. And after, controlling of the body according to expectation was there. And when it was there, we immediately decided, this is me. Nothing changed. Not even a single atom changed from John's body in the previous, or the before and after. The before also, it's the same number of atoms, same number of cells, the same person. After also, it is the same person, same number of atoms, everything physical is the same. But what changed? The controllability according to the expectation changed. When it changed, we immediately decided, this is me. Now, that is due to Asmi Mana. If that is eliminated, then the Asmi Mana would be gone. So think What should we eliminate to eliminate Asmi Mana? Nature mindset. If the nature mindset is 0, no Asmi Mana at all. Because nature mindset is what decides, gives the conclusion that this is could be controlled according to the expectation. And that is exactly the reason why we decided, where am I in the after incident which happened later after the shifting in John's body. I asked, where am I? Why did I decide that this is me? Because that is what I could control according to the expectation. I wanted to look, I could open my eyes and look. My original body could not be controlled by me, so that is a different person now. So it is very, I don't know whether this makes sense or not, but I'm trying to give you an example to understand what the difference between the Asmi Mana and the rest. So the rest should still stay after you become Arihat. It doesn't go away. The understanding or the memories and everything, and the way you talk and walk and everything, how you talk to somebody, those would not change. The only thing that would change is, instead of anicca, nicca, anicca would be the default. So since there's a very good illusion and very good demarcation due to that illusion from the rest of the world to the mind and body, because mind and body works as a package, it is very, very integrated from the rest of the world. So we decide that this is me. And the rest, which could be controlled according to the expectation, as mine. This is my car. This is my house. So again, that is due to not knowing anicca. My, me, mine. And you know what my soul is. It is due to the illusion that this world creates. We know about the explanation of the flame. So we know how a series of causes gives out to a series of effects. And if the effect looks like the same, we decide it's the same thing, just like in the case of the flame. And then we decide that it is this everlasting me, just like in the flame of just like in the case of the flame. So that is my soul. So again, we are not focusing on, we are not trying to go up the staircase starting from the uppermost stair. We have to start from the lowermost one. You have to start from the bottom, not the up, if you are trying to climb a staircase. Just like that, this illusion of nature is very, very high when it comes to me and my mind, especially in the level of Asmi Mana. But it is lesser outside, even lesser for the things that does not belong to you. So things that belongs to other people, things that belongs to us, things that belong to me. Now that means things that belongs to other people, things that belong to me, and me itself are the three components. So things that, it is very easy to understand the illusion, anicca, dukkha, anatta nature in the things that does not belongs to us, because it is not ours. Or the child of the person next door gets ill, and let's say he gets a cancer or something, and he is now in the deathbed. Now we can very well understand, okay, the world is anicca, dukkha, anatta and everything. But if it happens to somebody who we knows, then Of course, we can understand anicca, dukkha, anatta there as well. But since the emotional part is high, we would not be able to act on anicca, dukkha, anatta. We'll still be crying. We'll still want that not to happen. We'll not be able to go into that wise mindset where the person is like invincible due to raga, dosa, moha. Now the person is crying, thinking a lot, and trying to praying, and everything is done without that. We have the anicca, dukkha, anatta mindset if it was seen once, but we are not acting on it. But if it happened to somebody else who we don't know, then we can very well say that like a hero, it's of anicca, dukkha, anatta nature. This is the worldly nature. Why should we think about it that much? Should focus on wisdom and focus on anicca, dukkha, anatta would be our answer, and we'd abide by that answer as well. But when it happens to something we know, something of ours, it takes time because we need working on our mindset to develop into that state. So when we develop in the RA pathway, when our mind develops with panya, then we'll be able to tackle that. Then we will be able to bear that kind of situation, but not something that happens to ourselves, maybe, even because that is very, very fine. The avijja is very, very strong. Again, we'll still be able to understand this anicca, dukkha, anatta. But if somebody comes chasing after us with a big sword or something to chop our head off, then we'd not be able to practice anicca, dukkha, anatta. We'll start running because the application is even harder. And if somebody becomes arihat, then that would not be a problem. So start from the tangible things, the more understandable, more important, and more focusable things. Focusable in the sense, things that bothers us the most. The denser defilements, not the finer ones. When we work on the denser defilements, samadhi would develop and the detection power would develop, and we'll be able to understand more finer details. That is why it says this is an anupurva shiksha. So it is an ascending pathway. Not just, you just can't end it in a flick of a second. If it happens in a flick of a second, that person went through that ascending journey very fast. There's no other way. He also went through the ascending path. We are also going through the ascending path. If our wisdom is lesser, we'll be journeying, we'll taking that journey one step at a time. So it'll take some time. You cannot make it more quicker because anicca, Arya pathway is also of anicca, dukkha, anatta nature. It is not different from that reality. So that is what I wanted to explain regarding this question. Let's go through the questions again, and let's go through the question and the several questions that we discussed. Is it possible for anyone below the Arihat to experience the uncontaminated chitta? I think you get what I mean. Arihat chitta is very different. As I said, Arihat state itself, or Nibbana, is not about a single moment. It is about the whole story is changed kind of thing. From this point onwards, no raga. This point onwards, no dosa. This point onwards, no moha. Because even in a lay person, there would be times there's no raga, dosa. Of course, moha mindset would be there. But again, there would be instances that there would would be no moha as well, just like in the instance of asanya satta. So the satta, he had not attained nibbana, but the asanya satta does not have raga dosa moha because his mind is not working at the time. But certainly the individual is not in nibbana. So we can say it is not about a momentarily thing. It is not a momentarily thing, especially even if you are if you are a person who has opened up the eyes of wisdom. When there's light in the room, there cannot be darkness. That doesn't mean darkness is gone forever. Until the light is there, it will happen. And as soon as the light switches off, there would be again darkness. And we have to we have to develop into that stage where there is no darkness anymore. And that is the end result. And that is the Arihat Chitta. And that is not experienced by others. So there is this explanation, and I'm not going through the explanation again. So is that correct? I think I covered the answer to that. If the above is correct, then does that imply that our experiences are always contaminated to some extent with ignorance? Again, you cannot say it like that, because if we are focusing on a moment, there would be moments that we purely see anicca dukkha anatta. Because in that mind, when we say the whole world is of anicca nature, if we understand it correctly, then we understand it. But that doesn't mean we have eliminated all the causes that would create avijja again. And when that happens, that is gone. That means we have eliminated all the contamination. Meaning we are always experiencing Pancupadanakkhandha, never Pancakkhandha. So when there is upadana to Pancaskandha, there's Pancupadanaskandha. When there is no upadana to Pancaskandha, even for a moment, you can say it as the Pancaskandha is created. That does not mean we are able to have that state throughout, towards the end. That means we are just momentarily seeing anicca dukkha anatta. And if we continue to see it, it will grow. In the above example, what is the understanding of a Sotapanna about this sense of I? I think that is covered in through the examples and everything. How does this sense of I lead to a rising of 11 major flames? Yeah. To answer that question, again, we have to understand what is this I and everything. It is not about calling I to yourself. It's not that, because that does not create any avijja. Then Arihat would not be able to call himself I or me. Or these are my robes and these are my belongings. It is about the nicha, or not knowing that this is Paticca Samuppada process and trying to control it according to the expectations. When that is there, that itself creates the Asmi Mana. That itself creates this wrong, false understanding or false feeling of I. And it is very hard to use this use a language to explain it. I think you can It is like going through. We have a thin paper. We can go and we keep the paper in front of us. We can go from the right side of the paper. We can go from the left side of the paper, and that is very straightforward. We keep a paper in horizontal plane, not a horizontal, but in a vertical plane. And we are now in front of the paper. We are just seeing the thickness of the paper in our eyes. We can see the front side of the paper, and the left side or back side of the paper as well, because we are seeing it in a vertical plane. Now, if we want to go in front, we can pass this vertical paper, which acts as a barrier right now because it is in front of us in the vertical plane. We can go front into the, we can go forward, passing this paper from the right direction or the left direction. But if we find a very thin blade and try dissecting it in the middle through the thickness of the paper and find a new path, you're not going from the left side or the right side, but going in the middle by dissecting the paper. And this is that kind of a thing. As soon as we are talking about moving forward, one would fall either into the right side or the left side, because it is straightforward. But only a person who has understanding and who would be able to dissect this with wisdom would be able to dissect the paper, that thickness of the paper which is in the vertical plane in the middle, and find a middle path, which is not the path which was in the right side or the left side. It is something like this. So if somebody understands that example or understand the real thing, then you would know what is anicca and what Asmi Mana is. And when Asmi Mana is understood in that way, you know what type of flames anicca creates. All the 11 flames. Flames of jati, jara, marana, raga, dosa, moha. Oh, if I go through it in the sequence, raga, dosa, moha, jati, jara, marana, soka, parideya, dukkha, domana, upayasa. So 11 flames. So these 11 flames are created because of not knowing anicca. This is the easiest way of understanding it. And when somebody is not knowing anicca, that itself creates the Asmi Mana. So understanding more about anicca and more about dukkha and anatta would lead to understanding about the 11 flames and would lead to understanding about Asmi Mana. So it is the basics again. So how does the eradication of perception of I leads to extinguishment of 11 flames of 11 major flames? So think about it. We don't have the expectation about we don't try to control these things according to the expectation. In fact, we reduce the expectation to zero. We don't have any expectations. That is the end result. When that is there, why do we have? What is the reason to have jati dukkha? Because jati dukkha, or we can say raga dukkha. Raga is wanting to or having things that are valuable and wanting to wander in those areas with thoughts, with words, and with actions. And that would not be entertained because anicca is understood and the value has gone to 0. When the value is gone to 0, by eliminating Asmi Mana is, you know that there are no things, nothing can be controlled according to expectation, including the thing called you. Now the value has gone to 0. No reason to develop raga. Because the value is 0, no valuable things to roam around. And there's no reason to develop dosa because if there is no important valuable things, no reason to develop a kind of conflicting mindset when things go wrong. Because there are no good things to go wrong. Everything is wrong. In that understanding, he sees that everything is wrong. And moha. So, if the reality is understood, the moha is already gone. So moha dukkha, moha ginna, or moha flame is gone. Jati flame is also gone, just like that. Jara marana is also gone. Because it is the jara and marana, or the jati dukkha means when the thing is emanated, you feel fearful that it will break, it will get stolen. That is also gone because the value is 0. Jara marana is the dukkha also becomes 0 because the value is 0. You don't care anymore. Soka parideva dukkha domana supayasa also doesn't happen because you don't care anymore. The value is 0. Doesn't find it very interesting or important. Even if that happens to a component that belongs to your own body, even that happens to your own eyes, even if that happens to your own ears, nose, tongue, body, or the mind, so then we don't have to talk anything about the external world because you have already completed the external world you have already completed the lower steps when you have already completed the higher steps as well. Because you have gone through the ladder, gone through the staircase to the up. And we don't have to think about, did I pass through the lower steps to get here? There's no other way to go to the top. So that is the easiest explanation about the 11 flames, because 11 flames are mostly about the external as well as the internal things. If the flames are gone for the internal things as well, there's no point in talking about the external ones, because external has to go anyway. In the Aditta Sutta, the Supreme Buddha has mentioned that all the burning with fire. The fire represents the ignorance, meaning the whole process is corrupted and all of that is happening within the mind, starting with Avijja Pacha Sankhara. Is that correct? The thing is, all the things are in fire. Chakku is also in fire. Rupa is also on fire. That means Chakku is not only the things that are created in mind, because Chakku Vijnana is created in the mind. Chakku Sampasa and Sampasaja Vedana is created in the mind. Chakku, there's two parts. Chakku, there's a part which is connected to the body physically, and of course there's a part there are layers until the Chakku Prasad. So Rupa again has an external part. So this is meaning all the Sankata. If I say all Sankata, that covers everything, right? Chakku, Sota, Gana, Jivha, Kaya, Rupa, Saddha, Gandha, Rasa, Pottabha, and Dhamma. Everything, all the 12 components are covered if I say Sankata. So Sankata have these 11 flames on them. What happens if we touch them? We get burnt. And that is the explanation. Why do we want to touch it? Because there's value. We get attached. Attachment is the reason for dukkha. So seeing that these are on fire, that means, let's say everything is on fire now, and we get this feeling to touch them. And that feeling is the problem. Everything could be on fire, and if we are not going nearer them, we would not get burnt. Let's say there's a wildfire going all over the place, and we feel like going and watching it, or we feel like playing with fire. And then that feeling is the problem. The feeling that we want to play with fire is the problem. But what if we don't know about fire, just like a small child who sees the fire or a flame for the first time? It is very beautiful, colorful, and it's dancing as well. The small child feels like touching the fire. And this is the first time he gets the experience and decides fire is not a good thing, I should never touch it again, and starts crying due to the pain that it created. Now, just like that, Supreme Buddha is saying everything, all the Sankhata is on fire. Whether it is the Sankhata created in the mind or outside, all of them are anyway Sankhata. Falls under the common category of Sankhata. So if all the Sankhatas has this characteristic, like everything is on fire, then the person gets into this wise conclusion, I should never get attached to these things because it's on fire. So that is understanding. I think that explains it. Yeah, it includes the physical eyes. In the question it's asked, the English translation seems to be talking about the physical eyes and physical sights. Yes, it includes that as well, because everything is on fire. So we should not get attached to the physical or the metaphysical things. Chakku bhikkhave adittam rupa aditta chakku viññāna aditta adittam chakku sampasaja aditto yampidam chakku sampassa paccaya upajjanti vedayitam sukham va dukkham va adukkam asukham va tampi aditya. I think it is what is explained in Aditya Pariyaya Sutta. So it is the same thing. I think our explanation covers that as well. In this video number 16, there is an explanation of Avyakruta Patisampada, starting with the image coming into contact with the eye, leading to rising of Chakku Viññāna, and leading to Nama, ending in Avijja Jati. It is said that is seen with the Arihat as well. My question is, does Arihat still have Bhava and Jati? Just the Jati which is eliminated in a Arihat is the Avijja Jati. He still have, everything is Jati. We can say this, let's say the chair that I am sitting in is a Jati. My eyes are Jati. Jati, the simple explanation is type. So there are various types, right? Human types, chair type, table type, room type, and there are various things. Every Sankhata itself is a type. So again, Arihat is Arihat type. Arihat has eyes, and they are also types of Jati, I Jati. And these are, of course, the Avijja that was created before in that individual is now not there. And that is elimination of Avijja Jati. And Avijja Bhava. Bhava is a process. You don't have Raga Bhava, Dosa Bhava, Moha Bhava, and all the other Bhavas which are created of Avijja, but the seeing Bhava, Bhava of seeing, sight, that is just a Kriya Chitta. And that Kriya Chitta itself is a type or a Jati. And that is not Avijja Jati. In that sense, Arihat never has Avijja Jati or Avijja power. Or Avijja Sankara. Or Avijja Vinyan. Anything. Any of the components in the Avijja Patisamuppada is not there in an Arihat. But it is not the only Patisamuppada we have. There are hundreds of other Patisamupadas we don't even know about. Maybe thousands, which Supreme Buddha might have not even discussed about. So this is a very complex complex subject, which is only fully understood by Supreme Buddha. So trying to understand it in that way, it is actually the hard way to follow the Arya pathway, because you will have more questions when you go through that pathway. You try to solve some questions and it leads to more questions. And then you try to answer those questions, it becomes more complex and leads to more questions. And Arya path is not something like that. It is something that is easy when you practice it. That means it should get easier and easier with time, not the other way around. It should not get harder and harder with time. It should get easier and easier with time. So what does this bhava and jati in the case of Arihat refers to? I think that covers it all, covers everything. I think we almost covered all 2 hours with the discussion. I think that is an important discussion as well. I don't know the finer or the complex, more finer details or more advanced components in the Arya was very clearly explained here. Maybe it is very hard to put them into words. I try to do my best with the examples, but we have to understand Arihat would be able to explain it more purer than non-Arihat person. Of course, we can talk about all the nuts and let's say there's this big tower. I'm taking the tower again as the example. So we can very well explain what we have passed, right? So we are taking the route to the tower, 100-kilometer route, and now we have gone 20 kilometers down the route towards the tower. Now we can see it clearly than when we are 100 kilometers away. We can say more things about the tower. Now I can feel that tower is few stories. It has 100 stories, and I can see the windows, and I can maybe see various antennas and everything that is there on the tower, but I cannot see much. But if somebody asks from a person who has walked 20 kilometers towards the tower about the pathway that he passed already, then he would be able to say it very clearly because he has experienced it. So if somebody has completed the whole thing and has touched the tower and got into the tower, then if that person was asked about the tower, he's experiencing it with his bare hands, so would be able to tell more details and more it will come in a more perfect way. So that is the thing. So when it is why these finer components is never being discussed even in Tripitaka. Only the words are being used to explain them, because the pathway to go there is explained. The easiest and the best way to understand the answers, to get the answers, the best way to get the answers to these questions is by following the pathway or walking towards the tower and seeing it for yourself. That is why the best method is already given. And the method is explained in extensive detail in the Pali Canon as well. So follow the method, follow the pathway, and one day you will be able to go there and see it for yourself, and somebody else's words, somebody else's explanations would make more sense, and you'd understand much more than that as well, because you are experiencing it now. The questions get answered immediately in your head because you see it on your own eyes, with your own eyes. So that is what I can explain, or what I can give you as the final message. So any follow-up questions? I don't know. Mr. Amin is not here. Was not here. I don't know. He's here right now. Yeah, he's here. So anything you want to ask from your end? Is it clear, or did you get what I told, or did I not explain anything you wanted me to explain? I try to be practical. I try to make you or direct you towards the practical approach, practical pathway. Otherwise, this Arya pathway, if you focus your energy, which is of course not infinite, you have a limited energy to focus on the Arya pathway, and you better get it in the correct, or use it correctly, because if it is used correctly, your energy is used correctly, then you'd get maximum output through it. Otherwise, you have energy to effort to be spent in the Arya pathway, but we are using it in a kind of unproductive way. If we focus on the immediate next step, that would be more helpful, more efficient, because then we would be able to find answers for these questions for ourselves. But of course, I am not discouraging you to ask these questions, but I am sending this message because it is very important to understand that. Take that message into the heart, so you'd be focusing on them, focusing on the pathway more, in a more robust or more focused manner. So that's, yeah, sure. Okay. If there are follow-up questions after that, I went through your reply, and if there are more questions after that, then you can ask maybe in the next discussion, or if we don't get any questions for the next discussion, then as Mr. Yoon said, we can go through the meditation, and I'll pay attention to your request as well. So if there are no other questions, then we'll end today's discussion. It's a short anumodana, and wind up today's session. So we have been discussing Dhamma, especially the important components of Anicca, Dukkha, Anatta, and you have been thinking and contemplating on these important components, and the meritorious power it generates is immeasurable. As I mentioned each and every day, in the Tripitaka, in the Dakkina Vibhanga Sutta, it says the highest amount of meritorious power is created with contemplating on anicca, with wisdom. So the amount of meritorious power that we have generated through these actions is immeasurable, and it direct us towards Nibbana, and would create causes for us to attain Nibbana. And With that immeasurable power that we have created so far, all the hindrances, barriers, and obstacles that you have towards your understanding, towards the completion of the pathway, may get diminished, clearing up all the barriers, obstacles, and hindrances that you have towards the Arya pathway, being able to complete your Arya pathway with ease, attaining supreme Nibbana, ending the suffering cycle of samsara. Accept this blessing with a sadhukara.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu.
And we are also going to transfer these merits to all the sentient beings, including the deceased relations, fathers, mothers, teachers, and the ones who helped us throughout the samsaric journey in various ways, ones who constructed our houses and homes and infrastructure, who lets us have this decent life, comfortable life without pain and suffering, and lets us have these Dhamma discussions with ease, and all the ones who are around us, associating with us, helping us throughout the samsaric journey, spouses, children, relations, neighbors, excuse me, and others who helped us in various ways, and the ones who helped us to have Dhamma discussions without discomfort, ones who are behind the scene, ones who are maintaining these temples, these devices, these internet connections, electricity and everything. Only because of them we are able to have these Dhamma discussions with ease and comfort. And all the individuals who were harmed and hurt by our actions, past actions, and the ones who are in the realms of deities and who are in realms of Brahman. Let's transfer merits to all the sentient beings, including all of them, irrespective of wherever they are, regardless of their current state of being. If they are in miserable places, may they refrain from doing sins, may they replace those sins with meritorious deeds, and may they lead happy lives, ultimately understanding the reality of the world, attaining the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Until then, may they lead happy lives, full of life, comfort, power, refreshness, and wisdom, being able to open up the eyes of wisdom with that favorable environment that they get, and by finally being able to complete their Arya journeys in Nibbana. Accept this with a sadhukara, transferring this great meritorious power to them with metta and kindness.
Sadhu, sadhu,
Sadhu,
sadhu.
sadhu, sadhu.
So let's end today's discussion, and I'll be reciting this Pali stanza, wishing everyone with life, comfort, power, refreshness, and wisdom, ultimately Nibbana. Abhivadana Siddhissa Niccang Vaddhapchayano Chattaro Dhamma Vaddanti Yayuhanno Sukham Balang Avirarogya Sampatti Sagga Sampatti Meva Chato Nibbana Sampatti Minati Samicchatu. May everyone attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana.
Sadhu,
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 sadhu.
sadhu.
Okay, Theruvan Sarana everyone. So we'll meet maybe in the next week.
Teruvan saranai.
Everyone, saranai.
Teruvan saranai.
Theruvan Sarana.